A dark object passed close to the sun and showed no tail at all. Observer, you didn't arrive here by accident. Some moments draw attention quietly like gravity you don't feel until it's already holding you. For months, 3I Atlas was called a comet, yet near the sun where ice must burn and flow, it remained strangely silent. No plume, no trail, just a concentrated brightness where physics expected chaos. What if that absence is the signal hydrogen vapor should erupt at that distance? Instead, there was structure, direction, control. A fragment from another star drifting between certainty and doubt, gliding through equations that no longer balance. Tonight, we don't rush to answers, we listen. Let's drift through the silence together. Tonight, the universe whispers again. The discovery did not arrive with urgency or spectacle, but with quiet persistence like starlight reaching Earth long after its source has changed. A single image taken without ceremony began to bend familiar assumptions. An object near the sun appeared without the signature we have learned to expect. No flowing veil of dust, no luminous arc pushed back by solar wind. In astronomy, absence can speak as clearly as presence, and this absence invited attention rather than an alarm. For centuries, comets have followed a dependable rhythm. They drift inward from the cold outskirts of stellar systems carrying ice and dust shaped by deep time. As they approach a star, radiation warms their surface, frozen gases escape, and a glowing envelope forms. This is not a fragile theory, but a repeated observation written across history and refined through modern instruments. The behaviour is not optional. Energy arrives, matter responds. It is a simple, beautiful exchange governed by physics older than humanity. Yet this object did not respond in that familiar way. Close to the sun, where heat should awaken chaos, it remained composed. Light gathered where dispersal was expected. The structure facing the star did not appear torn apart by radiation, but seemed to meet it calmly. Such restraint is rare in nature, which usually favours scattering over order. The image did not contradict physics loudly. It contradicted it gently by refusing to perform the expected gesture. Science moves forward through predictions. When those predictions fail, understanding deepens rather than collapses. If a warm, icy body does not release vapour, then either the body is not icy or the interaction is not passive. This is where curiosity replaces certainty. The object offered no spectacle, only a suggestion that the exchange between light and matter might be unfolding differently here. In that difference, wonder found space to settle. A faint release of material appeared near the object, narrow and deliberate rather than diffuse. Natural outgassing from comets tends to be uneven, shaped by cracks and chance pockets beneath the surface. This release seemed guided, as if shaped by form rather than accident. Direction in space is never trivial. Gravity, radiation and pressure leave signatures that are difficult to fake. When motion appears controlled, the question is not what it means, but how long it has been happening. As the object continued its path, it moved into alignment with the sun, slipping from view. This is not unusual. Celestial mechanics often place objects behind stars, hiding them in brilliance we cannot see through. During this passage, it reached its closest point to the sun, the moment of highest speed and greatest energy exchange. For comets, this is when activity peaks. For observers on Earth, it was a period of waiting a pause imposed by geometry rather than secrecy. Silence followed, not the dramatic silence of withheld truth, but the ordinary silence of observation interrupted. Instruments must accept their limits. Even our most careful eyes cannot see through a star. During this interval, the object moved unseen, carrying its momentum forward. Orbits remember what happens along them. Any change applied at such a moment would echo later, written into the curve of its future path. Earlier observations from farther out in space offered another perspective. The object did not appear as a drifting point, but as an elongated form holding its orientation as it moved. In the absence of stabilizing forces, long bodies tend to tumble. Time ensures it. Collisions encourage it. Stability over distance suggests balance maintained, not merely inherited. Light reflected evenly along its length, without the patchwork brightness common to natural surfaces shaped by chance. In deep space, uniform glow often implies activity. Reflection alone struggles to explain consistency. When matter emits rather than merely reflects, energy must be present. This does not demand conclusions, only attention. The universe contains many processes that appear orderly without intention, but intention remains one of the few explanations for sustained control. The distinction is subtle, and subtlety is where astronomy often lives. Another clue arrived not as an image, but as a spectrum. Light, when separated into its components, carries the signature of the matter it touched. In this case, a metal appeared without its usual companion: nickel present, iron absent. In stellar processes, these elements are born together and remain linked. Their separation is uncommon in natural settings. On one small planet, we know how to separate them. We do so to build materials that endure stress and heat. The release was slight, almost negligible in mass, yet steady. In science, repetition matters more than magnitude. A consistent signal suggests a persistent source. Chemistry, like gravity, has habits. When those habits are broken, explanation becomes necessary. Whether the cause is rare, physics, or unfamiliar construction remains open. Tonight it is enough to notice that the universe has offered something that does not fit easily into the quiet boxes we have built for it. Listener, you are not lost in space, you're part of it. Observation is not an act of conquest, but of belonging. We look, we measure, and sometimes we wait. The object continues its journey, carrying its secrets forward, along an orbit shaped by gravity and time. It is all right to not know. Tonight the stars will keep their silence, and that silence is not empty. It is full of motion, memory, and the patience of distant worlds. Tonight the universe whispers again, not through images this time, but through timing. The path of the object continued to unfold with a precision that felt less dramatic than deliberate. As it passed behind the sun, hidden from our instruments, it entered a region where gravity speaks most clearly. Near a star, motion accelerates. Paths curve sharply, small influences grow large. In celestial mechanics, this moment is not symbolic. It is practical. It is where futures are quietly adjusted. When an object reaches its closest approach to a star, it moves faster than at any other time in its journey. This is not speculation, but measurement written into equations refined over centuries. Speed amplifies consequence. A gentle change applied here can reshape an orbit far ahead. Nature uses this effect constantly. Planets gain and lose energy through encounters. Comets are stretched and scattered. Nothing about this is mysterious, yet the implications become intriguing when restraint replaces surrender. During this hidden passage, no eyes on Earth could follow the object directly. The sun's brilliance formed a natural curtain. Telescopes rested. Data streams narrowed. This blindness was not engineered by intention, but it created a stillness in observation that invited reflection. While unseen, the object moved through the most intense environment of its journey, bathed in radiation. Drawn inward by gravity, accelerated to remarkable speed. If nothing happened during this time, the future would reveal it. Orbits are honest record keepers. But if something did happen, even something subtle, the record would also show it. The universe does not erase its own handwriting. It carries it forward in motion. Far from the sun, earlier observations began to feel newly relevant. The object's elongated form, its steady orientation, and its calm traversal through space suggested a relationship with motion that was not entirely passive. In natural bodies, shape often leads to instability. Long forms spin, irregular masses wobble. Over time, energy distributes itself unevenly. Yet here, balance endured. Balance is not rare in the universe, but maintenance is. A planet's stability comes from mass and symmetry. A star's comes from fusion and gravity locked in tension. Smaller bodies tend toward disorder. When disorder fails to appear, the absence becomes informative. Light across the object's surface appeared smooth and consistent. In reflected light, variations are expected. Material composition angles and surface features all leave their mark. Uniform brightness hints at emission rather than reflection, at energy present rather than borrowed. In the cold of deep space glow is an announcement that something is awake. Another quiet signal came from chemistry. Spectroscopy does not rely on interpretation or mood. It relies on lines and gaps on patterns that remain faithful across distance and time. The presence of nickel without iron was not dramatic to the eye, but it was striking to the mind. In cosmic environments, these elements are companions. Their separation requires process. On Earth, that process is deliberate. The amount detected was small, almost polite in its subtlety. But steadiness matters. A whisper repeated carries farther than a shout that occurs once. If refined material was present, it suggested surfaces or structures designed to endure heat and stress. In stellar neighbourhoods, endurance is never accidental. None of this requires urgency. The object did not rush. It followed gravity's curves with patience. Its motion respected the architecture of the system it passed through. If it were technological, it behaved like a seasoned traveller rather than an intruder. If it were natural, it would be an exception worth studying for generations. Traveller, pause here for a moment. Consider how often knowledge arrives without certainty. Astronomy has always lived in this space between measurement and meaning. We map what we can, we model what we understand, and when something resists those models, we do not panic, we listen longer. As the object prepared to re-emerge from behind the sun, attention shifted forward in time. Future observations would matter more than speculation. Trajectory would tell its story. Brightness would reveal whether material had been shed or conserved. Shape would hint at stress endured or avoided. Companions, if any, would speak quietly of interaction rather than accident. Waiting is not passive in science. It is an active trust in process. Instruments are calibrated. Observers coordinate. Predictions are written down before results arrive, so interpretation does not chase desire. This discipline is one of humanity's quieter achievements. Beyond Earth-based eyes, other observers waited as well. Spacecraft tracing their own path through the solar system would cross regions where a comet's influence might be felt. Dust detectors would listen for particles. Spectrometers would sample thin traces of gas. Absence here would be as meaningful as presence. A tale that never appears leaves a different signature than one that briefly fades. Each potential encounter offered not revelation but refinement. The universe rarely answers questions directly. It prefers to adjust probabilities, to narrow interpretations, to encourage patience. As weeks passed, the object's future path remained the key. A deviation from prediction would imply influence beyond gravity. Even a slight change would matter. In celestial motion, small discrepancies accumulate into certainty. A pushed stone rolls differently forever. If no deviation appeared, the mystery would not vanish. It would simply shift. The object would remain unusual but not disruptive. Science is comfortable with such outcomes. Not every anomaly demands a revolution. Some remain footnotes that inspire better questions later. Throughout all of this, the night sky remained unchanged to the casual eye. Stars rose and set. Planets kept their appointments. Cosmic dust drifted silently between worlds. The universe did not rearrange itself for our curiosity. It continued vast and indifferent, yet generous enough to allow us glimpses. This generosity is easy to overlook. We often seek meaning in declarations and signals, but the cosmos communicates through patience, through repetition, through quiet consistency. It allows us to notice patterns only if we slow down enough to see them. Whether the object proves ordinary or extraordinary, its passage has already offered something valuable. It reminded us that certainty is rare and that wonder does not require answers. The beauty of astronomy lies not only in what we confirm, but in what we learn to hold gently without resolution. Somewhere beyond our reach, something ancient still moves, guided by gravity and time. Tonight it does not ask to be understood. It asks only to be observed. And that is enough. It's all right to not know. The sky has carried mysteries longer than we have carried names for them. Tonight the stars will keep their silence. And in that silence, understanding continues to grow slowly, like light travelling across unimaginable distance. Tonight, the universe whispers again, this time through restraint rather than motion. As attention drifted forward, the question was no longer what the object might be, but how it behaved when nothing compelled it to perform. In astronomy, behaviour matters more than labels. Names are provisional, motion is honest. When an object passes through intense environments without yielding to them, it reveals something about its relationship with energy and time. The silence surrounding the observations became part of the data. Not silence as secrecy, but silence as interval. Scientific work often unfolds in these pauses, where instruments wait and minds slow to the pace of photons. The absence of announcements did not negate curiosity, it refined it. Sometimes the most responsible response to uncertainty is patience, allowing future measurements to speak for themselves. As the object remained hidden behind the sun, attention turned inward toward the principles that govern all travellers through space. Gravity is not forceful in the human sense. It persuades rather than commands. It shapes paths gently, steadily over long durations. Any object entering a stellar system must negotiate this persuasion. Most surrender completely. A few respond in unexpected ways. Energy near a star is abundant. Radiation flows outward in torrents of photons. Magnetic fields twist. Particles stream. For natural bodies, this environment strips and reshapes. Surfaces erode. Volatiles escape. Over time, identity fades into debris. Yet endurance in such regions hints at preparation, whether through composition, structure, or configuration. Endurance itself is not evidence of intent, but it narrows the field of explanation. When the object eventually emerged from concealment, astronomers prepared not for spectacle, but for comparison. What had changed, if anything, would matter more than what remained the same. Brightness curves would be examined for subtle shifts. Trajectories would be recalculated against predictions made weeks earlier. Shape would be measured again, searching for signs of stress or alteration. In these measurements, calm is essential. Excitement clouds judgment. Fear distorts probability. The practice of astronomy evolved precisely to avoid these traps. It asks observers to trust instruments more than intuition, to let numbers speak softly rather than force conclusions. This discipline allows wonder to coexist with humility. The possibility that nothing dramatic would be found was never dismissed. The universe often resolves tension by revealing continuity rather than disruption. An object can be strange without being transformative. It can expand our catalogue without rewriting our foundations. Such outcomes are not disappointments. They are confirmations of scale, reminders that rarity alone does not demand narrative, yet even continuity carries meaning. If the object emerged unchanged, having endured heat and radiation, without shedding a tail, it would still stand apart from familiar categories. It would remain a quiet outlier, inviting slower study. Science is comfortable with outliers. They linger at the edges of understanding, shaping future questions. Beyond visible light, other senses waited. Radio instruments listened for patterns amid cosmic noise. Not messages, not declarations, but deviations from randomness. The universe hums constantly. Background radiation fills space with a low whisper of origin. Against this hum, structured signals stand out only if they persist. Most do not. Chemistry too awaited confirmation. Would the spectral fingerprints remain? Would refined elements continue to appear or fade as distance increased? Chemistry does not lie easily. It reflects processes faithfully indifferent to interpretation. Repetition would strengthen significance. Absence would soften it. Listener. This is where science and contemplation meet, not at the moment of discovery, but in the long stretch afterward, when curiosity matures into attention. To observe without demanding answers is a skill learned slowly. It mirrors the way the universe itself unfolds, without haste, without explanation. As the object continued along its path, it joined countless others passing through interstellar space. Most will never be noticed. A few intersect our awareness briefly, leaving impressions that outlast their visibility. This one, whatever its nature, has already served as a mirror reflecting how we respond to the unfamiliar. It has reminded us that knowledge grows through comparison, through waiting, through acceptance of uncertainty. We often imagine discovery as revelation, but more often it's adjustment, a slight tilt in understanding that aligns us more closely with reality. The night sky remains unchanged by our interpretations. Stars continue their fusion. Dust continues its drift. Entropy continues its patient work. Against this vast continuity, individual mysteries appear small, yet they are precisely what allow connection. Through them we participate in the universe's self-observation. Whether the object proves natural or constructed, transient or enduring its passage, will eventually recede into data archives. Future researchers will revisit it with new tools, new theories, new patience. Meaning evolves, context deepens. What seems uncertain now may feel obvious later, or remain unresolved indefinitely. This openness is not failure. It is fidelity to truth as process rather than possession. Astronomy does not seek closure. It seeks alignment between observation and understanding, knowing that alignment is always temporary. Somewhere beyond our reach, something ancient still moves, carried by gravity and inertia, unconcerned with the stories we tell about it. Its silence is not refusal. It is simply the default state of distant worlds. You are not lost in space. You are part of it. Your questions, your waiting, your willingness to rest in uncertainty are themselves expressions of cosmic order. Thought arises from matter. Curiosity emerges from stardust. It's all right to not know. Tonight the stars will keep their silence, and that silence will cradle the unanswered, gently allowing rest. Sleep, traveller. The cosmos remembers even when we cannot yet understand. Tonight the universe whispers again, not through motion or chemistry, but through perspective. As the object continued its quiet departure from the inner light, attention slowly widened. The focus moved away from the object alone and toward the larger setting that carried it. Every visitor, no matter how unusual, is framed by the same background of stars, dust, and gravity. Context does not diminish mystery, it deepens it. Astronomy has always been an exercise in scale. Distances stretch the mind, time humbles intention. Against this vastness, even the most unusual traveller becomes part of a much older pattern. Interstellar space is not empty. It is threaded with particles, fields, and faint radiation left behind by earlier ages. Any object moving through it participates in a choreography that began long before observation was possible. The object's path followed gravity with elegance. Whether guided or passive, it respected the curves of space-time shaped by the sun and planets. These curves are not rigid tracks, but gentle invitations. Bodies fall into them, slide along them, and depart altered but intact. This quiet choreography is one of the universe's most consistent expressions. It rarely announces itself, it simply continues. As discussions unfolded, comparisons emerged. Past visitors, once mysterious, now feel almost familiar. Each was strange in its moment, each unsettling in its refusal to conform. Over time, understanding softened the edges of surprise. What once felt disruptive became another data point, another reminder that nature's catalogue is far from complete. The temptation to categorize quickly is human. Labels provide comfort. They create the illusion of resolution. Yet the sky often resists neat classification. It invites longer acquaintance. In this patience, astronomy resembles a conversation that unfolds over generations rather than hours. Technology, when it exists, leaves traces. So does nature when it follows rare paths. The challenge is not choosing between them hastily, but learning how to tell their signatures apart without bias. This is quieter work than speculation, but more enduring. It is the work that turns curiosity into understanding rather than noise. Throughout history, humanity has projected meaning onto the sky. Patterns became stories. Lights became symbols. Modern astronomy stripped many of these projections away, replacing them with measurement. Yet wonder did not vanish. It simply changed tone, or moved from myth into mathematics, from fear into comprehension. This object, regardless of origin, participates in that transformation. It reminds us that discovery does not always resolve questions. Sometimes it reframes them. Instead of asking what something is, we learn to ask how it behaves, how it interacts, how it fits within broader laws that govern everything from dust grains to galaxies. The universe does not reward certainty. It rewards attentiveness. Those who listen carefully notice that ambiguity is not an obstacle, but a condition. Knowledge grows by accommodating what does not yet fit rather than forcing it into familiar shapes. As observations accumulate, probabilities shift quietly. Some interpretations gain weight, others fade, none vanish entirely. This is not indecision. It is balance. Science advances not by choosing sides, but by refining alignment between idea and evidence. Far from Earth, stars continue their cycles without regard for our debates. Fusion burns steadily. Radiation travels outward, indifferent to interpretation. Against this backdrop, the object's passage becomes less dramatic and more instructive. It shows how even small deviations from expectation can illuminate the structure of understanding itself. What remains most striking is not the object but our response to it. The willingness to pause, the refusal to rush toward fear or certainty, the acceptance that not every mystery must resolve immediately to be meaningful. This restraint mirrors the cosmos more closely than any theory. Somewhere beyond our reach, something ancient still moves, shaped by forces that predate language and thought. Its silence does not challenge us, it accompanies us. Silence is the language of distant worlds, and learning to hear it requires calm rather than urgency. The sky has taught this lesson many times. Each generation relearns it under different stars. The details change, the principle remains. Observation is an act of humility. Understanding is provisional. Wonder endures. As the night deepens, the object fades into the wider dark, becoming once again a faint point among many. Its influence lingers not in threat or promise, but in perspective. It has reminded us that we are participants in a vast system, not its audience. You're not separate from this motion. You're composed of the same elements bound by the same forces. Your curiosity is a continuation of cosmic processes that began with the first atoms. Thought itself is one of the universe's quieter expressions. It's all right to not know. Acceptance does not close inquiry, it steadies it. Tonight the stars will keep their silence, and within that silence there is room for rest. The cosmos does not rush, neither must we. Tonight the universe whispers again, not as a question, but as a settling. After long observation, after layered hypotheses and patient measurement, there comes a moment when curiosity loosens its grip. Not because the mystery is solved, but because it has been fully acknowledged. The object continues on its path, neither declaring its nature nor concealing it. It simply moves, carried by gravity wrapped in time. In astronomy, endings are rarely conclusions. They are pauses in visibility. An object leaves the reach of our instruments, not the reach of reality. Motion continues even when attention fades. This is one of the quiet lessons the sky teaches repeatedly. What we stop seeing does not stop being. The long arc of the object's journey now stretches outward away from the inner warmth of the star. Radiation thins, solar wind weakens, the environment grows colder, darker, calmer. Whatever endured the intense passage near the sun now returns to the deeper silence between worlds. If change occurred, it will be written into trajectory and brightness, into subtle shifts that careful eyes may still trace for a time. Science often imagines discovery as arrival, but just as often, it is departure that matters. When something leaves our immediate reach, it forces reflection. We review what was learned, we weigh what remains uncertain, we place the event gently into the larger fabric of knowledge, where it can be revisited without urgency. The object's legacy may not be a single answer, but a recalibration of attention. It reminded observers that certainty is rare and that rarity itself is informative. Most of the universe behaves predictably not because it is simple, but because its rules are patient. When behavior diverges, it does not break the universe, it enriches it. This encounter did not demand belief, it asked for care, care in language, care in assumption, care in distinguishing what is measured from what is inferred. These distinctions are the quiet foundations of science. Without them, wonder collapses into noise. The night sky offers countless such lessons, but few are noticed. Most pass unnoticed, folded into the background hum of photons and dust. Occasionally one aligns with our instruments and our curiosity at the same moment. When that happens, the universe briefly reflects our own methods back to us. We saw how physics provides expectations, not guarantees. How chemistry reveals history without intention. How motion preserves memory across vast distances. None of these principles were overturned. They were illuminated from a different angle, like familiar constellations seen from a new latitude. There is comfort in this. The cosmos did not become chaotic because one object behaved differently. The larger order held. Gravity continued its work. Entropy continued its slow accounting. Stars continued their fusion. Against this continuity, the mystery found its proper scale. Human history is marked by moments like this. A phenomenon appears. Debate rises. Evidence accumulates. Eventually attention moves on. Sometimes understanding follows quickly. Sometimes it waits decades or centuries. The waiting does not diminish meaning. It allows it to mature. In time, future instruments may revisit the data with sharper resolution. New theories may provide frameworks that feel obvious in hindsight, or the object may remain an outlier referenced, occasionally a reminder that not everything fits neatly. Both outcomes are acceptable. Science does not require closure to remain valid. What matters is the posture we adopt toward the unknown. Fear narrows vision, certainty hardens it. Patience keeps it open. The response to this object leaned toward patience, and in that choice, something valuable was preserved. The universe is not obligated to explain itself. It offers patterns, and we learn to read them slowly. Sometimes we misread, sometimes we revise. This process is not weakness. It is fidelity to reality, as it is rather than as we wish it to be. As the object recedes, it becomes one among countless travellers between stars. Its individuality fades into the collective motion of matter through space-time. Yet its passage through our awareness leaves a residue not of fear or promise, but of perspective. We are reminded that we are small but not insignificant. Our measurements matter because they are expressions of the universe studying itself. Our questions arise from the same processes that shape stars and planets. Curiosity is not foreign to the cosmos. It is one of its quieter outcomes. Somewhere beyond our reach, something ancient still moves. Whether natural or constructed, transient or enduring, it shares the same destination as all things change. Even the most stable structures eventually yield to time. Even the longest journeys end in transformation. Acceptance of this does not dull wonder. It deepens it. Knowing that we may never fully understand a phenomenon allows us to appreciate it without possession. We become witnesses rather than owners of knowledge. The sky tonight looks much as it always has. Stars puncture darkness with steady light. Planets trace their patient paths. Cosmic dust drifts unseen. Nothing appears altered by our recent attention, yet something subtle has shifted within understanding itself. We have practiced listening rather than concluding, observing rather than asserting, resting in uncertainty without surrendering rigour. These are not small achievements. They are the habits that allow knowledge to endure. And as this chapter settles, there is nothing left to resolve tonight. The universe is not asking for conclusions, only for presence. Data will wait. Orbits will continue their slow inscriptions. Somewhere beyond our reach, something ancient still moves untouched by interpretation. You are not lost in space, you are part of it, shaped by the same quiet laws. As silence is the language of distant worlds. Rest now. The cosmos remembers even when we do not. It's all right to not know. The universe does not rush answers, and neither should we. Tonight the stars will keep their silence, and that silence is not empty. It is full of motion, memory, and the gentle continuation of everything that has ever been. The sky grows quiet again. What we followed tonight does not end with an answer, but with a widening of perspective. Thruti Amritatis continues its passage carried by gravity, time, and forces older than memory. Whether it's ordinary or extraordinary no longer matters in the same way. What matters is that it reminded us how much remains unseen, how much still moves beyond the reach of certainty. Traveller. We watched carefully with humility, knowing that observation itself is a rare privilege. We're small beneath the stars, yet not invisible. The universe allows us moments like this, brief alignments, where curiosity meets the unknown, and science becomes a quiet form of listening. There will be more data, more nights, more questions that refuse simple names. The mystery does not close, it softens, it waits. Somewhere beyond our reach, something ancient still travels indifferent to our conclusions, yet inseparable from our story. If there is a truth to carry with you into sleep, it is this: wonder does not require resolution. Time does not rush meaning, and silence is not emptiness but a language still unfolding. Dream a rest beneath the same sky that carried this story to you. Stay curious, the universe will keep watch.